Yeah. So how did you want to
Yeah,
how did you want to do this? You got like questions? You just want to talk about the fight,
yeah.
or
Well,
just the card as a whole?
yeah. I guess I'll ask you for your predictions for the main and co-main event.
So I'm not a big prediction guy. I don't post a whole lot of predictions,
Mm-hmm.
really any at all. Um, but if if I see a poll on who I think is gonna win, the main is Connor. Um, I will say that as far as like the prediction breakdowns have gone, like how many people have predicted one way or another for Connor's fights. Connor, I believe, was the favorite, at least Vegas odds. I don't know about
Yeah, he
MMA
is.
Twitter odds. He was a favorite against Khabib. He was a favorite against Cerrone. But I think he was, as far as like sentiment on Twitter, he was a lot more underestimated for the Cerrone fight for like a couple of reasons. But it's almost scary to be so sure of a McGregor pick because it's like, what if 90% of people are wrong? Because it really seems like it's 90-10 right now with Connor Dustin.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I did think I was super. I didn't make a prediction officially for the Khabib fight. I thought he was going to win the Connor fight or the Cerrone fight. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna take Connor in the main event. For the co-main, I feel like it's the same thing. I feel like Michael Chandler's being underestimated by like just general MMA Twitter population. I think he's got a lot to offer as far as like a wrestling game goes, but I mean, Dan Hooker said it himself in an interview. Or actually no, it was in the press conference today. My whole game is built around countering wrestlers with
Yeah,
the knees. You can't really argue with that. Like he's kind
yeah,
of
that's
he's kind of
true.
correct. So everyone just sees a Hooker knee as a finish. Um, Personally, I kind of have to agree. Chandler is shorter. He has like a lower wrestling stance. Hooker, as far as I can remember, has done decent against those kinds of fighters. The other concerning part is Chandler's knockout loss in like the first minute, got hit over the temple with an overhand right. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like Hooker's boxing is anything to sneer at. I mean, he's done very good. His check left hook is absolutely solid. So I will go with Hooker. But I'm gonna say I'm not as sure as like the general populace breakdown because a lot of people see a Hooker knee and I think it's very possible. I mean, I'm just gonna sort of talk.
Go ahead.
Hooker's very resilient, right? So like,
Mm-hmm.
even if he does get dragged down, he's gonna have to be held down for like 15 minutes, pretty much. And
Yeah,
I'm sure Chandler has the ability to do that. I'm not downing his wrestling credentials at all, but it's what's gonna happen before he can get him down. And if he can keep him there for a round, I mean, Hooker's got submissions. There's just it's very complex, that kind of a fight, and I think a Hooker knee is probably the most likely finish. A Chandler is probably the most likely decision. But he could also just get outstruck on the feet for 3 rounds. I mean, 3 round fights they go to decision. I think they go to decision a lot more than I think they do personally. Like I'll see a 3 rounder, oh, this person's gonna knock him out in the second. It's like some people are really okay with dominating for 3 rounds. In a 5 round
yeah,
fight, you get a lot of finishes because people just get tired. People realize if I don't put him away right now, we're gonna be here for 20 more minutes, and I don't want that. So people get a little more feisty. And then some people like Cerrone, they get started in like the second round or like middle of the first, and they hit like seventh gear in the fifth round, like against Al. So I
mm-hmm.
think it's a 3 rounder. I just see that Dan has more ways to win, so I'm gonna go with Dan.
Yeah, I agree with you. There, I don't think Michael Chandler will get finished. I think he's prepared for the knees coming up. So I just think uh, he'll be hitting air for 15 minutes and then just picking him apart.
Yeah, I could see that as well. You do have a point about him being rugged because he what's it called against the two wars I believe against Alvarez, the two like crazy fights, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't like looked at anything solid, but I remember him and Alvarez having 2 crazy fights, and Alvarez is nothing to you know,
Yeah,
turn
he's
your
no
nose away
slouch.
at. Yeah, he's no slouch. So it's not like he's. I mean, he got clipped like perfectly in the temple or behind the ear from that overhand right that got him inside of a minute. So it's completely possibly had bad luck in Bellator, and he's gonna really do stuff here, but everyone just sees a hook because he can throw the knee like from
Yeah,
many
like no
places.
telegraph, and he just throws it out there. It's crazy.
Yeah, he can hit the ceiling with the knee, like legit, like standing, no crouching, jumping. He can just hit the ceiling with the knee. It's like
Yeah,
for some reason his femurs are long. So
yeah. But I hope that I kind of starting to like Michael Chandler, so I hope he does good, because like before I was like, yeah, fuck that Michael Chandler guy. He's getting paid more than Dustin Poirier, and he's getting offered a title shot on his first fight. And now that I've seen more of him, I hope he does well. But I just I just don't want to see Dan lose. So
yeah, he's a nice dude. The words at the press conference this morning were, I mean, everyone was super kind. Everyone was fluffing each other up. A couple of people I saw really wanted some blood thrown at the press conference, and that was just completely absent. They were not having that. They were like, we're here to do this, X, Y, and Z, and I didn't mind it. Honestly, as far as like Conor McGregor mind warfare goes, I can't remember who said this. I don't think it was Conor exact. Actually, I think it might have been Conor. In his most recent interview, he said like I don't really need to do the mental warfare anymore. Like my accolades speak for themselves. And I don't know if it's just how Dustin gets around fight weeks. I don't know if it's the jet lag or the press conference or the lights or something. But he just seemed like he wasn't fully there during the press conference. So
yeah,
it's not like McGregor needs to do what he did at every press conference prior to the Khabib one, where he would just roast the person. And yeah, prior to the Khabib, because he didn't do that for Cerrone. Cerrone, they were really nice,
yeah,
and Cerrone just melted on their lights as well. He got taken out very early, quicker than he could even like really think of. But yeah, I do want to see Chandler do, have a good showing against Hooker. Chandler is interesting because his ideal situation is he comes in, he shows some fantastic wrestling, essentially probably dominates or submits Dan Hooker, like ground and pound. I don't even think he'd be happy with like a 30-24 or something, just 3-10-8 rounds. He wouldn't be happy with that. I think he wants some sort of a ground finish, whether ground and pound or submission, and then he hopes that something like he probably hopes that Dustin wins in the main event, because I imagine if Conor wins by essentially any means, they're probably going to look to put together Khabib McGregor 2, or they're just
yeah,
gonna figure out some sort of a title shot. So if Chandler wants to fight Khabib, which I 100% believe he does, he needs the main event to something weird to happen, and he needs to put on a good enough showing to get Khabib out. And I'm not so sure he's going to be able to do that. I think he can win, but as far as doing well enough and having the rest of the night, which he cannot control, go properly to get the Khabib fight, I don't think it's happening.
yeah, yeah. I agree with you. So I think that was it.
All right.
I wasn't expecting you to give that like, how do I say this in English? Man, like a lengthy breakdown. Like I didn't expect you to be so knowledgeable about the sport, I guess.
Oh yeah, I could talk a bunch about this. I mean, there's more to go off of, but like that's essentially your stage. I mean, the main event, the stage is already set, but as far as co-main and like where does Dan Hooker go if he wins? If he gets like a finish? Like, I mean, Ferguson's kind of like thrown completely down the pipe. Like not, something's going on with him. Like, I'm not saying like his performances weren't like, his fault. I'm not saying that at all. I mean, like, he's got to take some time away and figure stuff out, because it seems like we haven't seen him in his last two fights. At least the one of prior. So either something's going on,
Yeah.
or he's sort of over the hill, and he's got to decide that. But yeah, a Hooker win. I mean, he stays in the cut. He did just lose to Poirier, but he did have that crazy second round. That's another thing why you can't, like, why Dustin isn't getting as much credit as even Cowboy was, and you can compare resumes. As far as like top level competition beat, Dustin, I believe, hasn't beat for top level people, but it's that second round of Poirier Hooker where you go, wow, if only there was a more powerful puncher who was more explosive in the first two rounds, it's almost like Dustin wouldn't be here. And it's like, very interesting.
Yeah, that's true. I'm as a Poirier fan, I'm gonna be clenching my teeth and just being nervous that whole first 10 minutes of the fight.
Yeah, I sympathize with you on that. I mean, personally, I'm a McGregor fan, but like, if Dustin were to face almost anyone else in the top 10, again, I try not to pick sides too much. You get emotionally attached to a fighter and you watch him lose, it's like, I don't know, feel shitty on fight night. So when a fighter can get you emotionally invested, like Conor has to me, it's something a little different. But yeah, I sympathize with Dustin, because the narrative is he's changed, and it's I mean, yeah, it's a lot of time passed, but how much better has McGregor gotten, and how much better has Dustin gotten? Well, we can look at Dustin's last fight, sort of get there.
Yeah, for Poirier to like have a really big chance to win, he'd like have to change his whole style, because that style of combination punching is basically tailor-made for Conor. Like, everybody who stands with Conor is in trouble at all times.
Yeah, on like a very technical level. So Dustin throws like the stepping hooks, and Conor throws counter straights, and Conor is a better counterer than Dustin is a step forwards, hooker. So it's almost certainly a recipe for disaster. He has changed up his defense. He has like the Stonewall defense where he like has his arms weird. But if you watch, I watched a breakdown by, I think it was Jack Slack, which
what's that too?
Yeah, where he broke down the first one, and he's just like, it literally took Conor McGregor 60 seconds to realize that Dustin holds his hands a certain way, and then he threw the shot that knocked him out, that knocked him down, and finished the fight. So Conor reads really well. I don't even know if they knew that shot was there going in, because it took him a second to find it. But yeah, like third, fourth exchange of the fight, he's like, oh, you hold your hand there and you expose the back of your ear, okay, and then just landed it, put him out, and it was like, wow. So it's I don't know what Dustin's gonna do. I think some people talked about chopping the lead leg. Sure. I don't know how successful that's been, but when you chop the lead leg, like, you gotta be careful you're not leaving yourself open.
Yeah, you're open for like a straight down the pipe, and you don't want to get caught by one from Conor.
Yeah, it's I gotta say it is an uphill battle for Poirier. I think the co-main is more even. At least it's more of a wild card. I don't know if the fight will be even, but it's way more unknowns, because it's Chandler and Hooker.
Yeah. But I just hope we get to see some good fights, and I hope if Poirier loses, he doesn't get knocked out badly, because I'm not prepared to see that.
Yeah, the thing with a Conor McGregor build-up is the build-up is so intense and anxiety-provoking, and then he just shatters all expectations by winning way quicker than anyone thinks he's gonna win. Like, that's, except for like maybe the Mendes fight, which is why people called it a good fight, because it took him a round and a half. Like, there, I think it was like I don't know if it was made fun of, because I wasn't on MMA Twitter back then, but for UFC 205, Alvarez and McGregor, Chael Sonnen put out like an infamous video, And at the end of it, he goes, nobody runs through Eddie Alvarez. It just doesn't happen. Conor may beat him, but nobody runs through him. And then you watch the fight, and you're like, wow, okay. I mean, I know Chael, gets a little bit of a ribbing sometimes with the way he puts out videos and the stuff he says and the way he does promos, because he does great promos for the UFC, and that really made you want to watch the fight, because wow, how is Conor going to get through this super durable guy? And then he puts on a clinic for 8 minutes straight. I mean, he almost knocked the dude out inside a minute 30. Like the first exchange, he knocked Alvarez down, like decidedly.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like both swinging 50-50. Like no, that was a very decided exchange. So the huge build-up, had a bunch of my brother's friends over for McGregor Cowboy, and then the fight was like, oh, okay, McGregor's gonna win. You knew that in the first 10 seconds. Like, not knew
Yeah.
it. I'm not gonna say you knew for sure, but you're like, wow, Cowboy's nose is broken inside the first 10 seconds of the first round. Wow, he's already a bit dazed. Like he's already like he has no idea. Like he doesn't have his bearings. Not that has no idea where he is, but essentially already concussed in the first 10 seconds. It was like, well, and then the ground and pound finished the night. Like it was all extra after there. You're like, wow, we just paid X amount of money and we just sat through 15-30 minutes of promo, and it's like he just, okay, all right, short night at the office.
Yeah, I'm amazed at the fact that some people were convinced that Cowboy would like head kick Conor into another dimension, because I saw a lot of people saying that, and like before the fight started, I was like shaking, because I was like, shit, what if Conor gets knocked out? But then he came out so ferociously, like we've never seen before, and from the moment that he started landing those shoulders, like you said, you just already know the fight was basically over already. It was just a matter of time before Cowboy went down.
Yeah, the room erupted when he landed that head kick. And honestly, I blame Cowboy. I blame Cowboy because like people tend to do these in fights, and it's like a psychology trick. They tend to do mirroring. So like you can watch like Volkanovski versus Max, or you can watch like Max versus Cater, like two fights that come to mind. Someone will throw a leg kick, and then the other person will be like, oh, I can also throw those. Like they remember, because it's so MMA is so seriously like mentally demanding, because there's so many things going on. So, oh yeah, that's right, I can throw a leg kick. So when McGregor backed him up, he had been talking up his Kremlin boxing. Oh, he just came back. He had like a straight boxing camp for the Mayweather fight. His boxing's going to be insane. And I was like, I want to watch this. So you see, like, you get literally like one combination from Conor. You get like one combination where he's using like a real tight, disciplined boxing stance against Cerrone, and then Cerrone throws the head kick and he blocks, and then Conor goes, oh, that's right, I can throw head kicks too, and then throws one, and the fight's over. Like that was the fight's over. So I blame Cerrone, because I don't think Conor would have thrown that unless Cerrone did first. It's like, oh, that's right, left high kick, and then left high kick.
Yeah.
Like,
well, Cowboy was basically already in desperation mode at that point. Like, Cowboy likes head kicks, and when you get desperate, you rely on what you know best. So I don't really blame him, but like Conor doesn't usually throw a head kick, so I guess it kind of was on Cowboy.
Well, I mean, like I blame him for me. I know that he didn't think if I throw one, he's gonna throw one. What I know in the build-up, Cowboy said in a couple of interviews, not in like the big ones, because I think he kind of wanted to keep it a secret, but I think there was a ranch interview where he was at his ranch and specifically said, he's like, my ideal finish, I want to knock him out with a head kick. And it's just like, really? It's just like, yeah, I really want to do that. I was like, okay. And then McGregor knew that. He talked about it afterwards. He's like, I knew he wanted to knock me out with a head kick, and I thought it'd be cool if I did it to him. It's like, okay,
yeah,
like,
I heard him saying that.
you let it slip, like, and then he was so dazed when that head kick came in. It was like
Mm-hmm.
you were waiting for a punch to land properly or something, and then because it was the head kick, it was so shocking. It's like, when was the last time McGregor threw a kick? Because everyone's going for his legs,
Yeah,
except for I
but
guess Diaz.
I,
That Diaz
I,
fight was legit.
I guess it was also kind of stupid of Cowboy not to just shoot when he ducked under that straight. Like he said he said in the same ranch interview that you mentioned that that he just wasn't going to use his wrestling and wanted to stand with Connor, and I like maybe it was pride or just wanting to have a slugfest, but it was pretty stupid in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, but I think maybe Cowboy wasn't telling the whole truth there, because I'm not sure how many times he has like utilized his wrestling in an offensive manner. Like I think it's mostly defensive. Like the Mike Perry submission, which comes to mind first. Mike Perry went for the takedown. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how good his offensive wrestling is. I do definitely believe him when he says that he wants to stand with McGregor, because Cowboy's a cowboy. He wants to test himself
Yeah,
for sure, legit. And I mean, you tested yourself. The outcome was the outcome. So
yeah.
I don't know what to say past that. It's I guess what happens.
Yeah, well, I just hope Dustin doesn't have the same fate as Cowboy, because like you said, Dustin seems kind of psyched out, like was kind of like in another world at the press conference, and I just hope he's having a rough cut or something.
Yeah, it was like a blank stare almost.
Yeah.
Like he didn't seem to be able to focus on one thing, and then he could ask a question, because I saw his face, like, because they put him side by side when Connor's talking. So you look at his face and he just looks like a little bit lost, like he's got a weird like expression on his face. And then they asked him a question and he was able to answer it really well. So I was like, okay, he's not all gone. Like he's pretty here. Maybe something's just weirdly occupying his mind when he's not
Mm-hmm.
too focused. And I was like, I don't know. I wouldn't read too far into that. It's completely possible that he's. I would rather him do that, like in terms of like having a good fight. Like one-sided beatings are like okay, but you want to see, maybe you want to see good stuff out of both. That way it shows the best of both. So
Yeah.
for the purpose of him having a good fight, I would rather have him zoned out at the press conference than zoned out in the octagon. Like if
Yeah,
this is
that's
what it
true.
takes for him to get adjusted, like this is his adjusting period, is at the press conference. I don't want him going when he gets in the octagon. Maybe he'll be comfortable by that point.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see Saturday night, I guess.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I'll be on Twitter.
Yeah, I, bro, I probably won't be on Twitter because my mind will be fixated on the fight. I can't live tweet. Like my brain only has the ability to focus on one thing at a time. So either I'm on Twitter all the time without watching the fights, and then they're just on in the background, or I'm just not on Twitter and completely focused on the fights.
Yeah, I get that way sometimes. I'm in a semi-famous group chat on MMA Twitter. Shout out to Paradise. Um, and it's really funny because the chat is extremely active on fight days. It's extremely active during fights, but you can tell when a round is taking place and when a break is taking place. It's extremely stark in the chat.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that too. I'm not all that active in Paradise, but during fight days, it's basically every group chat that that is that way.
Every group chat, the timeline, and then you can tell who cares about what fight, because like I'll check it in the middle of a round and I'll see like two messages from two different people and I'm just like, oh, they don't really give a shit.
Yeah, they're like talking about some things that don't have anything to do with fighting or something.
Yeah.
But I think we'll wrap it up here. I have to talk to someone else in a couple minutes, I think. So
Yeah.
thanks for getting on with me and talking about the fights. I really appreciate it.
Hmm.
This conversation was pretty long, so I'm gonna have to cut some bits. But if that's okay with you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I do want the shout out to Paradise, either that one or the last one, somewhere in the snippets that
well,
you
well,
have.
just shout them out again, like right now, to just wrap up your segment in the video.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I was happy to be here, happy to take part, and hopefully take over. But shout out to Paradise. It's been fun.
Yeah. Again, thank you, and I'll sure I'll have you on some more on the channel. So
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for having me. All right. I'll see you.
okay.